Good evening, everyone. So this marks the start of our webinar. For your information, we are being live streamed on YouTube. So you could always catch us a clipping of our session on the YouTube as well. Now, I would like to give a warm welcome to all of you to this webinar on the future and current aspects of pharma industry, organized by the Association of Pharmaceutical Research and in league with scientific partner BioLeagues Worldwide and research partner United Innovators. I am Jumelia, your host for this session. So we will be spending a good amount of time together. A few guidelines before we start. I would like to request all the participants, all the listeners to please kindly stay on mute so that there are no interruptions. And any questions or anything, you could always raise your hand in the Zoom, or you could always put it up in the chat box and we will be happy to address it. So moving on, I would like to talk about the Association of Pharmaceutical Research and why this webinar has been organized. So the Association of Pharmaceutical Research is one of the world's leading professional association caring for people. APR is a non-profitable professional association meant for research and development in the field of pharmaceutical science and technology. APR is an international forum for researchers, academicians, doctors, and practitioners for sharing knowledge and innovation in the field of pharmaceutical science and technology. Shortly known as APR, APR aims to bring together worldwide researchers and professionals, encourage intellectual development, and providing opportunities for networking and collaboration. APR meets with its objectives through academic networking, meetings, conferences, projects, research publications, academic awards, and scholarships. APR strives to enrich from its diverse group of advisory members. APR brings together pharmacologists, life scientists, pharmaceutical practitioners, and researchers to guide the application of pharmaceutical science and technology to the public. APR delivers access to its members the industry's most essential technical information by organizing conferences, workshops, annual conventions, meetings, and provides networking opportunities both locally and globally. Members have the ability to stay current in their chosen profession, connect with peers, and invest in their future. So this is the purpose of the APR, the Association of Pharmaceutical Research, and they have organized this wonderful webinar for all of you today, which is a pleasure that I am hosting. So today we have three speakers that we have organized for you. So let me welcome our first speaker, and also let me give a warm welcome to our other speakers as well. So Dr. Roshan Palewar from India, Professor Dr. K. Karthikeyan from India, and Dr. Karthik Anantaraman from India. So we have three prominent speakers who have gathered over here to share their knowledge with us. Now, first, I would like to welcome our first speaker of the session for our webinar as Professor Roshan Palewar, who is an MS in Pharmaceutics, MD, and in PhD in Psychology. And he also has an N number of degrees as an ACLS in Cardiology, CEO Global Pharma Leader, Doc Roche Global Solutions as well. Now, Dr. Roshan Palewar is a Bharatiya Ratna and Pharma Ratna awardee. He is an entrepreneur, a global pharma. He also is a global pharma leader, an advisor, a mentor, researcher, formulator, doctor, psychologist, international speaker, and an avid pharmaceutical professional with 17 plus years of rich global experience. Dr. Roshan is armored with vast knowledge and developed expertise in pharmaceutical formulation research and development, discovery, business development, project management, program management, operation management, business strategy and business intelligence, medical, healthcare technology, and psychology. He is a proven leader, works with companies like Merck, Novartis, Sandoz, Wockhardt, Dr. Reddy's at various levels. His last assignment with Merck Limited, he served as the global leader of technical and project management in global R&D. Doctor, it is a pleasure to have you with us. And on behalf of the APR, I would like to say that your knowledge is most expected, and we, as your audience, would like to be enlightened with your experience and the kind of information and facts that you would like to share with us. And before I welcome him to join our spotlight, to take the spotlight, so we have a few viewers who have requested that. Some of the content be spoken in Hindi or else. Let me just say that this is a global webinar and English is the preferred language that we have surveyed and we would like to prefer. So to our viewers, so this is what I would like to inform, that the session would be done in English. So please do try to keep up with us. And as it is a global webinar, we expect all of you to maintain the decorum, and any of your questions, please save it after the speaker has spoken and you can ask him for the question and answers where we will be pausing. So over to you, Doctor. We are really looking forward to your session.
Thank you so much for absolutely a great and warm welcome to this specific forum. I'm very excited and glad to be part of today's webinar where we are going to be. Am I audible, just to confirm?
Yes, sir. Yes, you're audible and visible as
well. Thank you so much. So I'm so glad to be part of today's webinar where we are going to discuss what many latest happenings about the global pharma industry, the different trends, and also we're going to hear from other panel speakers, the experts from the respective fields. First of all, thank you so much for having me today in this specific webinar. And a special thanks to APR, Association of Pharmaceutical Research, and they are absolutely doing a humongous job, building the, bridging the, gap between the industry and academia, having all the experts from various backgrounds on the same forum, and sharing those knowledge, expertise with the larger audience. That's something, a great achievement. So biggest kudos to APR and the entire committee of APR. Right? Great. So I mean, as the introduction has been done, I would precisely take 25 to 30 minutes to take you through from the different development what the industry is doing, and that there are a lot of improvement happening in terms of the vertical growth, exponential growth from various sectors within the pharma itself. So we will talk about that at the same time, right? So let me share my screen with the presentation so that all of us would, can go through it and we can. Okay, I believe it's visible to all of you.
Yes, doctor. It is just starting to share, and now it is visible.
Great. Okay, still buffering seems to be. Yeah. Great. So welcome all of you, where I'm going to take you on the global pharma industry, the landscape, the different trends, the future, the global perspective, and the kind of the contribution the industry is doing today and going to do in the tomorrow scenarios as well, right? Okay.
Doctor, you could put it on the slideshow mode and present it so it's more visible to us.
I tried that, but still it's buffering from my.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, now it is visible for us.
Fair point. Fair point. Great. So thank you all once again, and let's have the in-depth insight about the industry, how the industry is doing it. So when I talk about the pharmaceutical industry altogether, I wanted to bring to your attention to all the viewers, all the attendees, all the participants that the entire global pharma industry is all about, 1.5 trillion dollars. This is the biggest pharma industry. If you compare with the rest of the sectors, this is absolutely doing a great job in terms of the growth and providing the novelties, novel formulations to the market in various segments, right? The revenue itself, you look into, and especially, I want all of you to observe this particular point that uh, if I want to take you back 20 years earlier, in 2001 approx, where the global pharma industry was around $390 billion, right? And now, if you look 10 years further, in 2010, it stood approx triple eight billion dollars as a total industry. And if you look today, as of 2020, which has already been crossed, and we are in 2022, which is $1.25 trillion industry. And as a forecast is concerned, because it's growing with the highest CAGR, as per the last all the reports, if you look into it, it's standing today and about to touch $1.5 trillion 2023, right? What does this mean to all of us as a aspirant pharmacists or associated with the pharmaceutical institutions or the industry? This indicates that there is a humongous, tremendous opportunities, a vertical growth and exponential growth is happening, and that's provide us the opportunity to be part of this industry directly or indirectly and contribute in a larger context, so that the industry which is offering all different verticals, different specializations, and different opportunities, especially from the industry. I will majorly talk from the industry because I'm coming backward from pharmaceutical global industry from 17 years of rich experience where more than 400 drugs I have developed across operated 172 countries with a team of around 600 global scientists under me. So these scenarios is pretty promising, and that's assured the future of all of us is absolutely safe and secure. Especially at this point, I would like to highlight for those who are aspirant to be part of the industry in the coming days. So, and those who are pursuing various courses, for example, since you are from the academia as well, the institution. So the future is absolutely bright. And if I wanted to bring your attention on Indian pharma industry altogether, right? The Indian pharma industry from 2005 it was $6 billion, but today it's standing at $55 billion, and this is growing with the CAGR of 15.92%. This itself is the biggest testimony to say proudly that India contributing globally in various ways, and as of now, is already a top three pharmaceutical market in incremental growth, and most importantly, the sixth largest market globally in absolute size. And the interesting part, because we are from India, and all of majority, like the aspirants going to be part of the Indian pharma industry or the Indian institution, pharmaceutical institution. So the thing is that the entire globe is looking for India and wanted to be a part of the Indian landscape, whether it's the portfolio, whether it's the formulation, whether it's the manufacturing capabilities or production capabilities. So the reason is very simple. The Indian ecosystem and the kind of pharmaceutical framework in India, and in specifically if you look into the cost of manufacturing or the production of various pharmaceutical dosage forms in India is absolutely lower as compared to the US market and almost half of the Europe market. And that's how the India is at the competitive edge, providing the ample quality, talented resources and uh, economical facilities, which is competing at the global market. And that's why the entire, the global, industry, the global players are wanted to be a part of the India landscape, and that's how we should be feeling proud about that. Now, since the pharma industry is also doing, various segmented formulations, and basically these segments are categorized in three sub-segment areas. One is the major portion is the generic drugs. The almost the total, the pharmaceutical, out of that, 70% is the generic, drugs which has been manufactured in the Indian pharmaceutical facilities and been exported in various regulated markets, including US, Europe, Japan, CEMEA, LATAM, Asia Pacific, APAC regions, and even obviously the domestic as well, right? Whereas the most important in the Indian market is that 21% contribution, the share is of the OTC medicines, those products which is available over the prescription at the counters, sorry, over the counter, right, without prescription. So that contributing 21% market. This is something very interesting because this taking even a second larger portion of the total market available, right? And then left over is what the 9% of the patented drugs, the novel tech formulations, right? Although as compared to the generic and the OTC, the percentile is around 9%. However, the kind of the quantum of business is being done by the patented drugs are pretty higher because it's comparatively the generic formulations of OTC. These are the costlier formulation because of the heavy research discovery goes into that almost 14 years 15 years of core discovery research, and from that framework it comes to the market. So obviously the cost of production and the research is obviously higher as compared to rest of the other segments, right? Now, we talk about the global pharma industry, the landscape, the Indian pharma industry. There are different segments, what the Indian pharma industry has been operating into it. Now, the most important thing is that when we look into the export market altogether and manufacturing and the export, and this is the wow moment. This is a very proud moment being the Indians, being a part of the Indian pharma industry. And the thing is that today, as of now, the total export that is what happening from India to various, almost 200 countries across the world, and able to generate the revenue of around 20 to 25 billion dollars in the export segment only, right? This is much more powerful statement, and this indicates that the the quality of manufacturing, the quality of research, the quality of resources that we do have, and the quality of infrastructure is at par to the global standards. And that's the reason the Indian pharma industry is making a very strong presence in the entire world with respect to its unique propositions because of the facilities, resources, and the kind of manufacturing that's been happening in India, right? And this is total contributing to 10% of the world's production demand, right? And that's why. And now, specifically, if I wanted to highlight, absolutely during the COVID time, all of us, in fact, the entire world has seen that, So every third dose of the vaccine which is being administered anywhere across the world is coming from the Indian manufacturing facility, right? This is something absolutely a proud moment, and how the India is contributing in the global development with respect to the quality of health of the patients and the human being. So India is a key player in that segment. Now, since we talk about the export, but at the same time, we should also know how the world's top 10 pharma companies are performing and which are those. Which are those? If you look into the entire analysis and the available data, and basically, okay, let me just into the clarity. This numbering, this don't follow the sequence. These numberings are based upon the various parameters with respect to it could be total manufacturing capabilities. That one factor, the total sales done by the companies, the quarterly analysis, and various other parameters which derives the numbering of the top performer in the entire world. Specifically, this has been captured with respect to the sales, right? So in the entire world, Pfizer is in the number one position, followed by Novartis, and then the Roche and Johnson and Johnson, followed by Sanofi, Merck, AbbVie, Amgen, GSK, and then the BMS, Bristol Myers Squibb. So these are top 10 pharma global companies which are doing amazingly great things. And I can proudly say that I was part of the Novartis as well as the Merck in my previous assignments, right? And company is tremendously doing the great things in their pharmaceutical segment altogether. Now, why I wanted to highlight this picture, the slide is that being an aspirant and being the very professionals coming from the industry, academia, and being a student as well, we should know if you wanted to scale in our professional career, which are the areas that which are the companies that we should contribute or we should target, where we should be going to be part of that. So this is the what the world's top 10 pharma companies. Now, how can we miss about the Indian pharma companies at the same time, right? So these are India's top 15 pharma companies. Again, this is the various year on year the revenue and the growth and sales. Those are the parameters to consider. From the India, the Sun Pharma, then Arbindo, Lupin, these are like top one, top two, top three, followed by Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, Zydus Cadila, Intas, Glenmark, Torrent, Mankind, Biocon, Piramal, Focard, Gills, and Abbott. These are the Indian top 15 pharma companies who are doing exceptionally great things. And definitely, as a professionals, we should have a watch on these companies, and you could be a part of these companies in the near days. And that will be going to change your the presence, and absolutely your future is going to be bright if you be a part of these companies, in the coming years. Right now, uh, maybe I will take another 10 minutes approx, 5 to 10 minutes, and then we can summarize everything. So if you look into it, we talk about the global industry, pharma industry, Indian pharma industry with respect to the different, top performing companies. But now this is something that all of us should be aware and should be knowing is that which are those top 10 therapy areas where the pharma industry is growing. Why it is so important? Because if you are doing, let's say, your research work, okay, let's say you are into the pharmacy or you are doing the PhD or maybe the academic research or the industrial research, okay, or if you wanted to be make your career in the specific segment, then if you tap this area, this therapy areas, which is already performing well in the market, and if your core interest, your work, and your research is aligned with this therapy areas, then the chances of absorption or chances of taking your academic research into commercial areas, into the industries are pretty high. So this is what just a suggestion. And if you okay, let me tell you like how these therapies are performing. The topmost is about the oncology. Okay, by 2025 is going to be $263 billion sales. Okay, and okay, and followed by if you look into is what do you call the anti-diabetes, okay, and then anti-rheumatics, vaccines, okay, antivirals, immunosuppressant drugs, dermatology, then sensory organ related drugs, the bronchodilators, the anticoagulants. These are the therapy which are performing very well in the market, and you should what I can say is that you should get inclined or get aligned with the industrial demand, and if you get aligned with your research, then definitely there is a greater possibility that you get a greater opportunity from your research work itself to be a part of the industry, and you can commercialize your research into the industry and can have the collaboration in that way. That's the point I wanted to tell. Okay, so now if healthcare, what do you call the pharmaceutical is there, then how we can miss about the healthcare market? And why I intentionally wanted to bring this point is that now the trend is not only the what do you call the pharmaceutical, but the healthcare IT related, business, the commercials and the opportunities are lying ahead, and anybody can make the career in the healthcare IT related profession, right? Now, the total global healthcare IT market is all about $390 billion. It's about to be into the 2024, right? and which is already growing at 15.8% CAGR. Okay, and if you talk about the Indian healthcare market, which is around 485 billion rupees, and that is going to be by 2024, which is growing at a higher rate of 27.41 percentile CAGR. This is indicating that the healthcare IT market in India is booming, and already there are a lot of IT companies who have built the healthcare division in their, as a vertical, standalone vertical, and they are heavily recruiting the professionals from the pharma, like B Farm, M Farm, to be part of this healthcare division of the IT industry. Right? So you can definitely count on those opportunities lying ahead. Now the growing volume, why the IT is pitching into the pharma segment as a healthcare solution provider is because there is a heavy patient data get generated, right? And there is a lot of evolution in the technology, know-how, there is a demand, and there is always a kind of smart analysis, a quick, efficient processes, and the systems to be available. And that's the reason the healthcare IT solution is the booming area that you can definitely you could be a part of that, right? Now, very quickly, I would just wanted to brush up about like which are the areas that you can definitely think as a making your career or maybe doing your project work in this specific segments, and there are chances would be pretty high where your project could be taken up. You get a better opportunity in the market, and these are the emerging trend where even the industry is also growing or adopting in their day-to-day operations. For example, to say artificial intelligence, this is much more powerful tool and available as of today, where this has been plugged with the various segments within the pharma, within the healthcare, and making the decision making processes or providing the quality of data as per the human intelligence. That is how the artificial intelligence is playing a role. So this is very booming and a trending area, right? Then followed by the blockchain technology, right? Now the a typical way of manufacturing the products as a unit operations now is switched to the continuous manufacturing operations, right? And there the blockchain technology is playing a critical role in the pharma industry because there's a consistent similar operations to be repeated without impact, right? And that's the thing. Blockchain technology is going to be premier in the pharmaceutical segment as well. Now, obviously, how can we miss about the mobile technology? Right? These are the we can't live without that, right? It's this then in day-to-day operations. This has been already included, including the IoT Internet of Things, which is the part of the solutions to provide to the either to the patients, or whether with a different what do you call the your clients. These are the solutions which provided from the application point of view, or maybe the of the IT solution point of view. And then automation. This is something. This indicates that there is a humongous operations happening in the industry on day-to-day basis. Now, in a way to quantify the quality of work, and if there is a processes which is kind of repetition, and if those repetitive processes and the systems can be what do you call automated without compromising the quality of data and the quality of output, then definitely this automation is what the taking a very core role in the industry, whether it's the manufacturing, whether it's the solution provider industry, or whether it's the IT industry providing the a solution via the various softwares which is plugged with the existing processes. The automation is taking a critical role in that, and most important is the big data. So big data, why it is so important? Because there's a what do you call a huge data is getting generated day-to-day basis in the industry, whether it's a manufacturing operations, or whether it's a marketing operations, or whether it's a hospital setup or the healthcare setup, right? So huge data has been getting generated. So those data has to be smartly compiled, smartly build the analytics into it, and basis those there are the huge the avenues of businesses, and building the smart processes in place is possible, and that's how These are the emerging area the industry is already working on, already adopting in their day-to-day operations, and making the things much more comfortable for existence, right? So these are the trends which I especially wanted to highlight to all of you. Uh, and what I can say to all of that, the industry, the pharma industry, especially those who are part of the industry directly or about to be part of the industry, the future is absolutely bright. No matter what qualification that you are carrying, no matter what specific segment that you choose, your future is going to be bright because the industry is growing rapidly and there are a lot of opportunities coming up. So that's what message to all of you that let's open our mind because mind is just like a parachute, right? And it works best when it is open. So just open your mind and see the transformation going to happen in your personal, professional, and the career life. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much for the questions, listening, and looking forward for any curious if it's there. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Right. Thank you, doctor. So, if there are any questions from the audience, you could ask the doctor verbally or you could type it in the chat box and we would be happy to address it. So, we will take a minute for questions.
Well, glad to see you, Dr. Naim Sal.
Okay, so participants and listeners, if there are any questions, kindly please post it to the doctor. Professor Dr. Naim Hassan, if you are trying to talk, I'm sorry we are unable to hear you.
Right. So I think there is one theory is Manish Dhal has requested the importance of artificial intelligence in the pharmacy. So as I highlighted during the presentation is that the artificial intelligence has been adopted by the pharma industry, and not only as you were talking specific to pharmacy with respect to pharmacy store or pharmacy, but let me club all the points together for the better understanding. This AI is being plugged into the manufacturing, plugged into especially in the operation segments because the set of decisions so that available the kind of the data set being generated, kind of the available data basis that the AI is providing the solutions which has been plugged with the operations, and not only that, if you look into the kind of the applications that we handle today, that operate today, it actually has the AI, so that analyzes the kind of the operations that we do. This is that it's actually providing the handy solutions and the suggestions. This is the available kind of information, which is a self what do you call upgraded. This is the kind of the data sets that generated in that process. So AI is going to be a crucial and is going to take a larger portion as a kind of service provider. Okay, so this is something that and definitely if any of you or somebody would have very interest on the artificial intelligence, my suggestion would be why don't you have a very short course of doing your postgraduate diplomas in the artificial intelligence, which has been specifically designed for the pharma industry. That will also give a lot of value addition to your career. Yeah.
Sorry, may I ask you, Dr. Roshan?
Yes,
do you
please,
hear
Dr.
me?
Yes,
yes, please.
yes.
How you have been able to gather all this information about the Indian pharmaceutical and international pharmaceutical industry? You have not given him any reference, please.
Oh, I see. Okay, so these are the all official publications of the global standard magazines and the publication houses. which has been officially been generated and made it available across the public, right? If you are noting, some of the slide might have the footnote with the reference is being given, and certainly if you are keen to have this infos, maybe I can share these slides via the organizer, and then definitely you can have the references.
Thank you very much. Though your presentation was absolutely very nice, informative, but you see, I don't know if you can send me your WhatsApp number or your mail so I can be having more contacts with you. I am here professor in Malaysia in
Wow,
pharmaceutical chemistry, in medicinal
that's amazing.
chemistry. I'm teaching in Malaysia, please. So if you kind enough to send me your email address so that I
Sure,
have more conversation with you, please. Good
sure.
luck and best wishes. Have a nice time, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Your point has been noted, and organizer will definitely do the needful. Thank you so much.
My
And
pleasure,
yeah,
sir.
and glad to see you the next speaker, Dr. Karthik, which is very good friend of mine, professional friend, I can say, and it's good that we are on the same platform today.
Nice to meet you, Roshan sir. Thank you,
Great,
thank you,
great.
sir.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
thank you all for giving the opportunity, and definitely looking forward for the future interactions if it is there. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Roshan, for the wonderful and enlightening session. And I'm sure you had addressed the questions also very wonderfully. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Moving on, I would like to welcome our second speaker for the day is Professor Dr. Karthikeyan. He is the professor and head of Department of Pharmacy Practice, School of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Wales Institute of Science, Technology and Advanced Studies in India. Dr. Karthikeyan is working as the professor and head of the department, and his area of specialization is clinical pharmacy practice, quality of life studies, drug interaction, pharmacokinetics, and published over 20 plus articles, and overall has about 14 years of experience in the pharma field. Dr. Karthikeyan, it is a pleasure to have you with us, and we are looking forward to your keynote address.
Thank you, ma'am, for the brief introduction about me. I would extend my gratitude and thanks to all the listeners who have been, sir, one of the senior most professor on the way from Malaysia. He has been online, and I don't know what is the time difference between the India and Malaysia, but it's quite it's evening, I think. So it's been.
Yes, this is 7:15
Yes,
p.m.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
7:15
Thank you
p.m.
for your patient listening
Yes,
here.
my pleasure, my pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And this is Dr. Karthikeyan. I'm working as a professor and head in the Wales Institute of Science, Technology and Advanced Studies. So today I'm going to present my talk on advancement of clinical pharmacy practice. Okay, so I'll share the slide. Yes.
Doctor, we can see your slides.
Yes, yes. Wait a minute. Yes. Sorry for the inconvenience. Wait a minute. Yes. Good evening, one and all. Today, my topic is on advancement in clinical pharmacy practice. So, you all know what is clinical pharmacy. So, first, we need to know what is clinical pharmacy. The health science discipline where pharmacists provide patient care by optimizing the medication therapy, by embracing the philosophy of pharmaceutical care. Okay, so the pharmaceutical care is the one we've been very promising about, and we have to give the care to the patients. Okay, so that is termed as a given by pharmacy, so it's termed as pharmaceutical care. So this is the thing, patient care plus medication use. So what for we have been giving this patient care? So regarding the medication use, so that is termed as both patient care and medication use is turned to be the optimization of health outcomes. Okay, so whenever the patient need that particular medication, so the medication has to be given to the patients on time. Okay, so the right time and right administration, right drugs. Okay, so these are the main motto of this clinical pharmacy services. So where we have to be very specific, okay, to individualization and optimization of the outcomes. Okay, so latest and unmapped discipline of pharmacy is that clinical pharmacy services. Okay. So the clinical pharmacy history. So the clinical pharmacy as a professional practice existed due to the poor medicines controls in systems in hospitals in way back in 1960s, in the UK and US. Okay, so from 1960s only, the clinical pharmacy services turned to be the very effective one. Okay, so in UK and US, the existence was there. So led to the presence of pharmacists in patient care areas, along with techniques like unification of prescription. So in 1960, so in India, it was established in way back in 1992 onwards, the clinical pharmacy services. Now, but the UK and US, all the developed countries, they made this possible in 1960s onwards. So unification of prescription. Okay, so that is a individualization of prescription. So patient care, we have to be given unification. So what medicine being needed for that particular patient. Okay, so unification of prescription. So we need to spend some time for that individualization of therapy. Okay, so individualization is that we have to take care for the specific patient. Okay, so unification of prescription was there, and administration documents. Okay, what are the things, how the drug has to be administered. Okay, so for example, if it is going to be given in IV, we have to give in IV, because we need to check the bioavailability, so it will reach the systemic circulation very fast. 100% bioavailability will be there. Okay, so those are the onset of action will be very quick. Okay, so that is why the administration documents play a very vital role. Okay, so whenever we talk about this pharmaceutical care, this also will be the vital one, even though the administration activities done by the nursing faculties, nursing staffs. Okay, so we need to, as a clinical pharmacist, we need to spend some time on the chart review, medication chart review. So when whatever the methods of drug administration has been done, it's been done very correctly or not. Okay, so these are the administration documents, and unit dose dispensing. Okay, now almost most of the drugs has been coming in the unit dose dispensing, that is the strip pack. Okay, so previously in 1980s, before 80s and all, the compounder job was there. Okay, so that time each and all the raw materials, nowadays also in practicals, the pharmaceutics practicals, we used to do so many mixtures. Okay, kaolin mixture, carbonate mixture, antidiarrheal mixture, so many mixtures we used to do. So this was happening, this was in practice in 80s, before 80s and all, the compounder job was there. So previously when the patient want to go to hospital, if he finds the doctor is not present over there, so he will directly go to the compounder room, and he may get some medications regarding, and he may go back to the home. Okay, so the compounder will compound the medicines and dispense. So that time was the pharmacist responsibility was very high. Even it was priced on top of the doctors ones. Okay, so I'm sorry if any doctors is there, don't mistake me, it was happened. Okay, so whenever I was in childhood also, I remember that compounder job. So next era, the drugs was dispensed So more pharmaceutical companies used to come and they used to prepare that unit dose dispensing package. The drugs used to come in strip packs. Okay, so nowadays there is no need for that compounding. So the compounding jobs was completely diminished. Diminished means eliminated. Okay, the process is not more necessary. Okay, so all the drugs been so one is the advantage and one of the disadvantage is that spilling of medications, spilling of raw materials. Okay, so and the storage problem. Okay, so everything we cannot accommodate in one room. So say for example, if the drugs coming from the pharmaceutical company, we have a vast area. Okay, so each and everything they may have a separate room, and as per the good manufacturing practice, they used to manufacture the medications, and it will be going to the quality control studies and also to other evaluations. Okay, so that the drugs will be in coming in a good okay, by good techniques, their manufacturing was done, and it will be very quite useful for the patients. Okay, so unit dose dispensing, so no need to break the even for pediatric also the different types of formulations been coming in syrups, elixirs, and also the disposable tablets also. Okay, so many formulations been available. Okay, so decentralization of pharmacy. So centralization of pharmacy, all the patients used to come to one area, and there may be so much of crowd, and because of that crowd, so many of medication errors may happen, and dispensing errors, and also the doctors also prescribing errors may also happen. So these things we need to avoid. Okay, so that time for that purpose we need to have this decentralization. Decentralization means we need to set up a pharmacy in the respective wards. Okay, so wards are in the floors of the pharmacy, so floor stock system, and we learned about this in the hospital pharmacy drug distribution system. So decentralization, so it may avoid, at least we can prevent the outpatient department separately and the inpatient pharmacy separately, so that inpatient directly the drug will be sent through the ward boy to the patient, or the attender also they can get to the inpatient, and they may hand over the drug to the nursing staffs in the nurse area. Okay, and nursing station they may surrender the drug so that it will be administered to the inpatient. So the both if we keep inpatient and outpatient together in the same area, so it's quite difficult to manage. Okay, so outpatient is different and inpatient is different. So inpatient we have this IV fluids or all other things. So many parenteral fluids all there. So it's quite difficult to store in single place. Okay, so that's why this decentralization of pharmacy is very much important. The term ward pharmacist transitioned to clinical pharmacist in late 1970s. Okay, so finally the pharmacists used to help in the ward, so they termed as ward pharmacist in 1960. So then in 1970 it transitioned to clinical pharmacist in late 1970s. Okay, and this is the study done by Ahmad in a systemic review on the impact of clinical pharmacy services on patient health outcomes in Pakistan, concluded that clinical pharmacy intervention reduce the medication related errors and improve therapeutic outcomes, improves humanistic outcomes such as patient knowledge, adherence, whether they have been taking the medications regularly or not, and health related quality of life. Okay, so how their health improving day by day, okay, after taking the medications. Okay, so that's the outcomes they have been measuring, and these are the things while doing the same clinical pharmacy services they may used to have all these things. So they can reduce the medication related errors. So sometimes due to as I already told that so much of crowd is there, the pharmacy is not able to dispense it freely. So many errors. So the packaging also sometimes I said disadvantage. This is also one of the disadvantages. If any particular company has been going for some manufacturing, say for example this thyroid drugs. Okay, so Thyronam 100 mcg, okay, 50 mcg, 25 mcg. So all the containers looks very similar. Okay, they are not going to differentiate. Okay, so the container looks same bottle, same capacity, same size. So it's quite difficult during the crowd time. So even though the pharmacist has to be very careful while dispensing the drugs, but is a human always we can the human error is possible anywhere. Okay, so that time we should be very careful. So we can reduce the medication related errors if we do the clinical pharmacy services. Once the patient gets the medication from the pharmacy, they have to come back to the clinical pharmacy in the at least the patient medication counseling area, so that the mistakes will be, the errors will be identified and the correct drugs will be administered. So this is the main thing, and improve the therapeutic outcomes. So we have to educate the patient regarding what for they have been taking the medications. Okay, so we need automatically it will improve the therapeutic outcomes. So what is the importance of taking medications, and improves the humanistic outcomes such as patient knowledge, adherence, and health related quality of life. So these things automatically improve the outcomes. Okay, so on the positive outcome towards the recruitment of clinical pharmacists in the healthcare sector. Okay, so automatically now most of the state governments they have been putting the GO and the passing as per the PCA notification. More clinical pharmacist jobs is going to be established soon. Already the Andhra government also initiated that, and now the talks been going on in the Tamil Nadu state government, as well as it is going to be the job here after the clinical pharmacist, the ward pharmacist has to enter officially with the designation of clinical pharmacist. Okay, so it's not going to be late, so it's going to happen soon. And this study also emphasizes the importance of clinical pharmacists in low and middle income countries like Pakistan. Okay, so you know about Pakistan, what will happen, we don't know at any point of time. Some terror attacks or whatever the attacks will be taking place. So in that country, this clinical pharmacies itself been found to be very effective. Means our country population is huge next to China. So we see how much of pharmaceutical care we need to give to the patients. Okay, so that's very essential. So based on this study, so the impact of clinical pharmacy services found to be very effective. So it's already proven and it's been published. So these are the various clinical pharmacist roles in hospital activities. So collection of complete exhaustible history of patients. So this is very important to get the information, complete history. Okay, say for example, the patient is coming to the hospital on a hurry basis in the emergency conditions. Okay, say for example, then immediately they may come. Okay, so they've been rushed to hospital by ambulance or whatever may be the things, transportation available. They used to come to the hospital without taking their previous medication records and whatever things. So what are the past medical medication history and past what are the medicines they've been taking. So immediately their attention is to rush to the hospital. Okay, so that time the attenders accompanying him also, they are not in position to get all these details on time. So that time they have been coming to the casualty, and based on their vital signs and the non-examination and the chief complaints, the patient get admitted. Okay, so immediately based on their vital signs, the treatment will be starts, and the clinical pharmacist has to play a vital role here, because doctors sometimes due to the emergency condition, they are not, the patient or their attender also may be in very stress. Okay, so they can't answer the things properly, so that whatever the information gathered, the duty doctor will make a note of it, and he may be the patient may be admitted in the specialty wards. Okay, so or maybe in ICU. Okay, so the morning the clinical pharmacist comes to the duty, so it's their prior responsibility to review the chart, medication chart, and what are the basic information being gathered and what are the things being missed. So it's clinical pharmacist responsibility to get all the information. So let them in the morning give some time for the attenders to go home, and while coming ask them to bring the old records. So if anything is there, so you make a note of it and bring to the notice of the physician. So this is the main prime role of clinical pharmacists. Sometimes the patient may hesitate regarding the to tell about that what are the helps they have been taking along with the conventional drug therapy. Okay, so that is the most dangerous one. So it's pharmacist was the one who counsel the patient and get the information regarding all those things. Excuse me, sorry. So is a pharmacist is the one who get all this information regarding the things, and it may be revealed to the physicians for better outcome, better treatment. Okay, so this is the and documentation of allergies, hypersensitivities, drug dependence. Okay, so it's always in the Western countries, the allergic card and any emergency card, if they have been the patient found to be diabetic and hypertensive, the card will be there in the packet. Okay, so that what are the, if they fell down on the road or whatever, wherever in the public places, the caretakers may take them to hospital, and using the card it may be verified. Okay, say for example some blood group, also all the details, name, address, age, and what are the what is the disease condition is been suffering from, and what are the medications they've been taking. Okay, so these are the alert card. Okay, so diabetic alert, hypertensive alert, and finally allergic cards also they can keep. In the allergy also they have to maintain. Okay, say for example myself, compared to be, whenever I go to the physician, I priorly I may tell for any common cold or anything, before writing the prescription itself, I may tell that I am being allergic to ciprofloxacin. Okay, so ciprofloxacin, they may note a note on top of it, and they may mark some important. Okay, so that any duty doctor comes to the wards for review, they may note that okay, this drug is allergy. Okay, so that, so I have to tell priorly, so it's not no use in telling after writing the prescription, after getting the medications, after you have to take. Okay, once if you find that the drug has been found to be an allergy, anytime if you take, the drug causes allergy. Okay, so that it's documentation of allergies is very important. So we may ask, okay, so the illiterate people, they are poor in knowledge, drug knowledge, or they are not able to tell so what condition they have been taken. So we need to counsel the patients. Okay, so they may not exactly, they not come with the proper drug name and other things. So these hypersensitivities and drug dependence. Okay, so these are the documentation we need to take. So say for example how this drug dependence. Okay, so most of the patients have this pain, usually the woman or the housewives, or who been not going to the jobs, they found to the pain, leg pain or any other pains, they used to take analgesics. Okay, so they once once upon a time, they may come to that thing, only taking that medication they will be coming out of that illness. Okay, the pain. So drug dependence. Okay, so that should not happen. So we need to educate properly. So it's not like that you do some exercises or any other alternative therapy, we need to tell, so that they be coming out of that drug dependence. Okay, so these are the things. And drug food interactions also. So drug, so we may give some any, say for example this pioglitazone, or the previously it was rosiglitazone and troglitazone, when administered along with the gemfibrozil or any other statins. Okay, so it tends to increase the liver enzymes. Okay, so the rosiglitazone increase the liver enzymes. So because of that, liver toxicity will be there. Okay, so so we have to prevent that, and so low, because of that, this liver problems, liver disorders may happen. So because of that, the drug has been withdrawn from the market. Okay, so now pioglitazone is there. So previously it was found that pioglitazone producing the prostate cancer. So then one other diabetician found that it's not true. Okay, so I conducted a study in major populations. So not even a single patient developed the prostate cancer. So then the pioglitazone again came to the market. Okay, so it's been temporarily withdrawn by the DCGI, and it's been again, the drug has been came to market once it's been proved wrong. Okay, so that's why we need to be very cautious drug interactions and drug food interactions. So say for example, tetracycline we should not take with milk. Okay, so it will form chelation like that. and deformation of teeth. If the pregnant woman has been administered with tetracycline, the fetus will be with deformities in the teeth, deformity of teeth. Okay, it will happen, and decoloration of teeth also sometimes may happen. Okay, so these are the things we need to be under. So most of us we misunderstand that grapefruit juice interactions. Okay, so many of them are aware of this. Okay, this confusion. Grapefruit is the nothing but the is a type of fruit. It looks like orange. Okay, in the Western countries, it's been there. It's a grapefruit is very famous fruit. It's not the one which we used to take. What we are taking is grapes. That's grapes. It's not grapefruit. We never termed it as grapefruit. Okay, so grapefruit is going to interact with many drugs. Okay, so that we need to avoid. So here also in most of the PharmD and clinical pharmacy practice students, they used to tell that grapefruit juice we have to avoid when taking any medications. Okay, it's not good. It's not fair if we take that. Okay, so we could not give wrong counseling to the patients. Okay, so please try to understand this. Grapefruit is a different one. Okay, so it's the best example of drug food interactions. Okay, and the clinical pharmacist roles in hospital activities. So monitoring drug therapy, so obviously it's a prime duty of the clinical pharmacist, and monitoring of renal hepatic disorders. Okay, so if anything is there, we need to, okay, monitoring of drug therapy, mainly what are the drugs we need to monitor means the narrow therapeutic index drugs like digoxin, lithium, diazepam, phenytoin, carbamazepine. Okay, so all the neuro drugs need this attention. Okay, so even if you give in mild dose also, it will produce a huge effect. So that is termed as a narrow therapeutic index drugs. Okay, so potent drugs mainly. So digoxin, you all know. What is the dose of digoxin? You all know anything? Anybody? So 0.25 mg, 5 days. Okay, if the drug has been started on Monday, we have to administer Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 0.25 mg we are administering. So we need to give 2 days rest period. Saturday, Sunday will be holiday for the drug. Okay, so we should not give the digoxin because it causes so many adverse effects. Atrial fibrillation of fluid, accumulation of fluid, atrial fibrillation will take place. Okay, so because of that, see, we are giving only 0.25 mg. So it's a very little quantity, but it causes huge effects. So that's why the any cardiologist who have been administering for antiarrhythmic or any other arrhythmic conditions, they may give 2 days rest period, let the fluid goes out of the body. Okay, so pedal edema will be there, otherwise facial edema, okay, lung edema, all the things is possible because of accumulation of fluid. Okay, so the fluid has to come out. Okay, so then it may restart on next Monday. Okay, so this is the digoxin dose. We need to be very careful. Okay, so and chronic administration. Okay, so if you have been administering that for long period of time, any drugs, so it should be monitored. Okay, so say for example, if we are giving diabetes, so many people they may not go to regular follow-ups. Okay, they may be asked, the physician asked to come after 3 weeks, sorry, 3 months. Say for example, if they have been, usually they may ask to come after every month or 2 months, every 2 months, depends upon the thing, the hyperglycemic levels, glycemic index depends upon the glycemic index. The doctors may advise the patient regarding that. So if the case is very the hyperglycemic means they may ask for every 15 days also sometimes. Okay, so you take these medications, you come back after review for after 15 days. Okay, so like that, sometimes the patient may hesitate to go to the physician, and they may regularly, because in India we can go and get the prescription refilled without any doctor's signature or any other things. Okay, so this should be this is the most worrying condition. So because I am being an Indian, I should not talk like that, but I don't know what to tell this, because the regulation authorities and all other, they're fighting it very hard. I can't say that they have been not working, but it's quite difficult for them to constrict all these things. Okay, so hopefully in future we may get a solution for all of these things. So the every day, so as a pharmacist, we need to check that whether the prescription has been refilled. Okay, the doctor's signature was there or not. Okay, so if the prescription comes to the pharmacy also, it's our prime responsibility to send back the prescription to the physician. Okay, you just go and consult the physician and come back. Okay, don't give the drugs as it is, especially for the life-saving drugs, especially dealing with life-saving drugs. So that, because say for example, if they are not going for regular follow-up, the glycemic levels, they are not been checking up. Okay, sometimes they may walk on road. Apart from that, they may tend to take because of that neighbor or friend's advice. They may also take the herbal preparations along with the conventional therapy. This cannot be they never reveal to the physicians. Okay, so in that conditions, while walking on the road or any other things, any public places, or walking in the sun, okay, so they may faint suddenly. This happens. This was happened in so many conditions. It was happened. So we need to be monitor. We need to monitor, and we need to make them for send them to regular follow-up. Sometimes lead to other complications. Hyperlipidemic levels may also tend to increase, and it may they cause stroke silently. Okay. So these things we need to monitor. Okay, so and renal hepatic disorders, it may happen in the elderly population because of their age. The organs also become very aged and weak, and because of more drugs polypharmacy, it may tend to have create this renal and hepatic disorders. And dosage calculations, we need to do that dosage calculation accordingly. There we need to measure the creatinine level for renal disorder patients, and other liver enzymes, liver calculations, liver disorder calculations to give through, especially for the elderly people. And monitoring ADR and its prevention, and monitoring of pharmacokinetic parameters. Okay, so as I already told, mainly we have to be very careful with this narrow therapeutic index. We need to check this plasma concentration of drugs, how much of drugs been how much of drug concentration has been intact in the body. Okay, so before giving the next dose, so we need to check whether it's been completely eliminated or off life. We need to check the off life of the drug, so before administering any drugs. Okay, so before administering the next dose, we have to check whether it's been we need to check all those things. And selection of proper drug or dosage forms help physician choose depending on the bioavailability and bioequivalence of such products. Okay, so these are the selection of proper drugs. So these are the clinical pharmacist roles in hospital activities. So mainly now is the antibiotic stewardship program is very much important because considering the microbial resistance. Okay, so it is very essential enhancing infection prevention and controlling the source of infection, and prescribing antibiotics when they're truly needed, prescribing appropriate antibiotics with adequate dosages, using the shortest duration of antibiotics based on evidence, and reassessing treatment when culture results are available, and supporting surveillance of antimicrobial resistance and monitoring of antibiotic consumption, and educating the staff. Okay, and supporting an interdisciplinary approach. So mainly the goals of antibiotic microbial stewardship program is attenuating or reversing the antimicrobial resistance, and preventing antimicrobial related toxicity, and reducing the cost of inappropriate antimicrobial use and healthcare associated infections. Okay, so pharmacists' responsibilities for antimicrobial stewardship include promoting the optimal use of antimicrobial agents. Okay, reducing the transmission of infections, and educating health professionals, patients, and the public. Okay, so these are the main responsibilities of the patients. Without the need of the antibiotics, you should not be administered. So this is the main thing. And transmission of infections, so we can make the patient to stay away from that infections, or any other people, those who got infected, they have to be isolated immediately, so that the transmission of infections will be prevented. Okay. So this study is significant, mapping the implementation of clinical pharmacist driven antimicrobial stewardship program in at a tertiary care center in South India. So in way back in 2021, Nambudri, the author, who concluded that pharmacist-led audit and feedback monitored the appropriateness of antibiotic prescriptions and compliance to antimicrobial stewardship recommendations showed drastic improvement in the numbers over a period of 3 years. This study also emphasizes on how the clinical pharmacist can aid to scaffold the implementation and sustainability of antimicrobial stewardship programs where there's a lack of infectious disease physicians. So these are the concluded thing. And the clinical pharmacist roles in hospital activities. So designing health and drug policies and research and development activities. So this is the main role of clinical pharmacists. So they can be a member of pharmacy and therapeutics committee. They can be framing the drug policies. Okay, so what are the drugs to be present in the hospital and what are the things? So nowadays, the PharmD graduates and the MPharm pharmacy practice, along with this BPharm and the DPharm people, they can be assigned as a chief pharmacist, and they may be the member of all other committees in the hospital. So especially the pharmacy and therapeutics committee, the pharmacist will be the member secretary. So they are the one who are going to deal with this, all these drug policies mainly. Okay, so they can assist all the heads of the departments of various departments in the hospital, and they may okay. They are the one who frame the policy. So what are the drugs to be present, and as per the national formulary and the hospital formulary, so they may prepare the formulary, what are the drugs to be present, and if any drugs is been banned or anything, so immediately they may check with the Central Drug Standard Control Organization updates. So based on that, the drug will be removed, and we have to ask the suggestion from all the other chiefs, head of the departments. So what are the drugs to be replaced instead of that removed banned drugs? Okay. And research and development activities, obviously more research been done by the pharmacy people. Okay, so I'm really proud, I can say that, because doctors himself, they cannot do the research. They're finding it very difficult because of their busy schedule. Okay, so because of that, they are not able to. 1 minute. Ma'am, I will be there, ma'am, in 10 minutes. I'll finish off. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so research and development activities. Proudly, I can say that the pharmacy graduates, pharmacy students, so mainly B Pharmacy, as well as the PharmD interns and the PharmD clerkship students, are the one who've been involving in more research. Even the own hospital or any MOU or tied up hospitals, the pharmacy students are the one who used to do more research when compared to other healthcare providers or healthcare professional students. Okay, so this I am proudly say, because the all others been termed as a very busy, but we are dealing with drugs, so we can do a number of projects. Okay, so this is the one. And periodic bulletin, abstracts, newsletters, pharmaceutical literature, and drug information center is the main thing. So it always provide information regarding the poison, vaccines, and biologicals, where we can get that the patient or any other people, healthcare providers who often visit to our drug information center and get the information regarding the availability of medications or alternatives of the medications or whatever the things. The drug information center, the people who have been working in that, they may help at any point of time. So these are the major roles performed by clinical pharmacists. And Chauhan, in the article titled "Indian Aspects of Drug Information Research on the Impact of Drug Information Center on Community," concluded that drug information center are regarded as a great gateway of drug information, and the future of clinical pharmacy and drug information center is very bright. So the government, private hospital, and regulatory bodies should come forward to establish more number of drug information center in future time, so that clinical pharmacists and drug information can work to locate the quality in community. So based on this, our Pharmacy Council of India also recommended a designation called drug information pharmacist for the PharmD graduates and the M.Pharm pharmacy practice graduates. So these two will be filled on basis of the notification. The respective governments will take necessary steps to fill that post. Okay. And patient counseling. So another important aspect. Okay. Whenever the patient goes out of the hospital, so usually they used to talk friendly to the pharmacist. So the pharmacist is the one who acts as a bridge between the patient and the physician. Okay. So usually the patient come out very freely. They can talk to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist can contribute to positive outcomes by educating and counseling patients to prepare and motivate them to follow their pharmacotherapeutic regimens and monitoring plans. So they may take their own time. The patient may ask so many clarifications regarding the medications, regarding the disease also. And we need to be very careful in dealing the patients. We need to check the type of patients who've been visiting to our pharmacy. We should not show, we all learned so many techniques while attending the patients in patient counseling center. So the posture in the distance we have to maintain, and we should not see, I think we should not show any type of signs or symptoms after receiving their prescriptions. Okay, so we should be very pleasant completely whenever the patient comes, and before leaving the pharmacy we need to be very stagnant. Okay, we should not raise, or we should not show any type of emotional things or whatever things. So, and especially dealing with the psychiatric patients who have been visiting, they may come and ask what for this drug has been prescribed. So we should be very careful whether the patient himself coming to the pharmacy for getting the medications or attender coming to the pharmacy. So we need to check, we need to confirm or verify before the drug has been administered, and we need to tell what for they've been asking. And we should not tell you have been suffering from mental illness, for that purpose only the drug has been given. Okay, so we should not tell in that way. Okay, so we may be coming out of the illness, so it's quite often happen to all. Okay, so it is not going to be a very fearable thing, and we need to counsel and we need to consult the patient so that they may go out very happily. Okay, so it has to be maintained for all, yes, not only for the psychiatric. It's not only limited to the psychiatric patients. Okay, so a coordinated effort among healthcare team members will enhance patients' adherence to pharmacotherapeutic regimens, monitoring of drug effects, and feedback to the health system. Okay, so based on the counseling, several studies have found that most of the ADs could be detected and prevented. Pharmacists play an essential role in detection, identification, prevention, as well as management of ADs. The role of pharmacists is to promote maintenance, development, and ongoing evaluation of programs to reduce the risk of ADs by detecting, assessing, and reporting suspected ADs. So previously it was only the healthcare providers, usually physicians, the one who can report the ADs. Now, as per the Pharmacovigilance Program of India, PVPI, under Indian Pharmacopoeial Commission, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, they developed this Pharmacovigilance Program of India, PVPA app, so that we can download the app from the Play Store and we can report. Anyone can report. Previously, it was only the physician to report. We have to get the signature from the physician who have been attending that ward. Okay, so that it has to be sent to the zonal center. Okay, so peripheral centers will be there. So from peripheral center, it will be sent to the zonal center. So from there, it will be sent to the Uppsala Monitoring Center, Sweden. Okay, Pharmacovigilance Center. Okay, so now it's been very high. Now all the people, okay, even the industry and so many coordinating centers are there. Even the more pharmaceutical institutions are also termed to be the coordinating center now, and hospitals, almost all the hospitals, they have to enroll for this pharmacovigilance program. So they have to report. So previously it was one habit was there. whenever anything happens because of the drug or whatever things, the hospital management used to hide because they don't want to lose the reputation. Okay, so it should not be that. We have to produce enough awareness regarding that. It has nothing to have with the reputation one. So it is the life-saving one. So we can, if you submit this data to the regulatory authority, the thing will be scrutinized and it will be verified for the further things. So that if it has been continuously, the reports, it also helps wherever the same activities been happened. Okay, so this is the thing. So here is an reporting area is an essential component in monitoring and evaluating the activities performed in hospitals. Okay. And these are the research in pharmacy practice, medication outcomes and comparative effectiveness, and pharmacoepidemiology, and pharmacogenomics, and pharmacokinetics, and pharmacodynamics. So advances. So this is the thing, precision techniques we can take, precision medicine, personalized healthcare. So pharmacogenomics in pharmacy practice. Okay, so pharmacogenomics as a discipline is a part of precision medicine and personalized healthcare. So if you adapt this, it's a very expensive technique, a very expensive method, and it's quite difficult for our population. But even though the research has been going on how it's been going to implement, so once it is coming, so we may avoid all these complications, majorly happening due to the medications. Okay, so failure of common treatment guidelines is mainly due to the inter-subject variability that can be well predicted through genetics, and therapy can be optimized. So application of pharmacogenomics in serious drugs such as clopidogrel and warfarin, and its relation with CYP are successful examples. And based on the ACCP white paper stresses, this is study. Okay, the white paper is called study name, stresses that clinical pharmacists play an instrumental role in the implementation, education, and research applications of pharmacogenomics. Okay. So prescription drug monitoring programs. Okay, so these are the prescription drug monitor, which collects state-specific controlled substance and checking the PDMP database before filling a controlled substance. Prescription is optional in most states, but highly encouraged. Okay, so most of the hospitals now in government setup as well as the private setup, this prescription drug monitoring programs has been implemented so that whenever the patient comes to the hospital or without their medication records, also is easily we can identify. Putting his name and age or date of birth, we can easily recollect the data. Okay, so that the patient, we can check that whether the patient is on complaints or not, on whatever the information contained in the states. PDMP can help doctors and pharmacists ensure the safety of all patients when prescribing and using controlled substances. So the patient, sometimes they may come and tell, last time you given the white color tablets, sir, the yellowish color, slightly pale color, like that they may come and tell. Okay, so it's quite difficult. Okay, day to day, daily, the pharmaceutical companies, they have been changing the color, the flavors, or whatever, the strip packing has been changed regularly. So it's quite difficult to remember the one the patient comes and tell the next visit. Okay, so this will automatically help the prescription drug monitoring program so that the care will be given additionally. Okay, and medication therapy management, usually this is the main thing. The pharmacist will review all medications prescribed to the patient by all prescribers to identify and address medication problems. So problems may include non-adherence, duplication of medications, unnecessary medications, and the need for medication. So we need to review the medication therapy management. Okay, so whether the drug administered or prescribed has been correct or not, whether it's really needed to that condition. Okay, so we need to evaluate. Sometimes they may check the prescription while sitting in the counseling center. The doctors in a hurry, they may write tramadol. Okay, so for that, whenever we take gastric acid secretion will be more. Okay, so due to that, the ulceration may develop. Okay, so because of taking analgesics. So to prevent that, gastroprotective agents like rabiprazole or pantoprazole may be administered. Okay, along with that, they also will write ranitidine. Okay, so in that case, we have to check, because two gastroprotective agents, why is not really necessary. So we need to change that. Okay, so we need to, so that type of things we have to duplication of medications, unnecessary medications, okay, and the need for medication for an untreated or incorrectly managed conditions. The pharmacist is then able to provide medication-related education, consultation, and advice to the patient or their caregiver to help assure proper use of medications. So this is why the medication therapy management services will play. So these are the clinical pharmacy service, patient-specific, facility-specific, and global services. So patient-specific is patient education, drug interaction screening, drug therapy monitoring, drug and disease management, pharmacogenetics, drug information, pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic dosing, and collaborative practice agreements. So facility type, protocol, guideline, and policy development and review, research, core, measure, and quality improvement initiatives, and formulary management and financial stewardship, medication safety. And for global services, governmental and societal committees and agencies. Okay, so many agencies are there. Okay, so apart from International Pharmaceutical Federation, we have World Health Organization. Okay, and International Society of Pharmacoeconomic Outcomes and Research, ISPOR. So many global services are there, social committees are there, and agencies are there. So we need to have a proper tie-up, and we have to coordinate along with them, and we need to serve better. Okay, and societal guideline and policy development, and legal consultations, and public health initiatives. So these are the various global services. Thank you for your patient listening. So if you may have any questions, you can ask. Thank you.
If there are any questions to present to the speaker, the floor is open now for questions before we move on to our next speaker.
You see, I don't have any question to ask, please. But the young man, your presentation was up to the mark, but this was specifically for the master students. You were just like an academician, you was telling, and this was not related to the topic, and the topic was future and current aspects of pharmaceutical industry. But
I
this
don't
is
have any role in this, sir.
Just a minute, please.
Okay,
and
sir.
This presentation is okay. It's
Yes.
very informative. As an academician, you have presented very nicely. But this has to do nothing with the topic, please, my dear
Yes,
young man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You don't
I
mind,
agree,
please.
sir.
It's
I
very
agree.
straightforward,
Sir,
yes.
no need to.
But this is informative as well, you see.
Yes, sir.
Informative as well. May God bless you. Thank you very much. Good luck and best wishes. Have a nice time, please.
Thank you, sir.
May God bless you. May
Thank
God
you, sir.
bless you.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. So we would now be moving on to our next speaker.
One question is there in.
So there is a question of the role
Yes,
of clinical pharmacist in polypharmacy.
Yes, ma'am. So polypharmacy, we need to check whether, so as I already told, we regarding the whenever the age factor comes. Okay, so if it is in a 40 to 45 or 65 years, we termed as elderly. So we need to minimize. So we need to check whether really we need to interpret the data, lab data, and we may take that to the physician whether it's really needed or not. Okay, so as per the conditions, say if anything combination of drugs available, we can include that. So we need to check again the rationality of the combinations. Okay, so we need to check the Central Drug Standard Control Organization website whether it's been feasible to have this combination. Okay, so the polypharmacy, in this case, we can avoid. So we need to do the medication chart review before minimizing the drugs. So if we can talk to the physician after doing all these assignments, and we can talk to the physician to reduce. Okay. So one more thing, role of pharmacogenomics. So that's why I told it's a challenging role. Is the upcoming thing, role of pharmacogenomics in pharmacy practice, and whenever we can prevent so many things. Okay, drug interaction we can avoid. Okay, once it's been found that our genes, what are the genes? So especially we have CYP3A4 and CYP2D6. So these are the two cytochrome P450 enzymes majorly present in our population. So based on that, how the drugs acts, whether inducer or inhibitor or whatever the things. So we need to categorize that first. And based on that, the role of pharmacogenomics will be there in pharmacy practice for future research. And if anyone have kidney stone, they can eat citrus fruits. No, there is no, you should not take citrus fruits at all. You can take, but you have to take more amount of water. Even citralca syrup is having potassium citrate only. So it used to reduce the stone size. Okay. Citralca is very good only. Okay, because why this citralca has been given during the kidney stone process, the urination, the micturition process will be very difficult. Okay, to pass the urine is very difficult. So because the urine will be in acidic in nature mainly. So because of that, it have a painful micturition, painful urination will be there. So that to avoid that, to change the acid medium to alkali, so this citralca will be given, so that it don't have any relation to these kidney stones, but it will change the nature of the urine, acid to alkaline. So that is the main thing. So no drug interaction will be found.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
For explaining the questions as well as answering them. So
you,
on that note, as we have no more questions, we'll be moving on to our third speaker. So you can unshare your screen.
Okay, ma'am. Right.
Right. So I would like to welcome our next speaker, who is Dr. Karthik Anantharaman. He is the Chief Operating Officer of the Karnataka State Cluster with Roche Pharma, an innovation-led biopharmaceutical company. He was previously the Director of e-pharmacy and private label business at MedLife, India's largest e-health platform. Dr. Karthik is a trained medical doctor with a degree in internal medicine and surgery from Bangalore University, a postgraduate in MBA with marketing as a major from Manipal University, and a super specialization with MBA in GELP from Yale School of Management, Yale University, New Haven, Connecticut, USA. Dr. Karthik is a recipient of 30 top influencers in Indian healthcare industry, January 2020. The most influential marketing leaders listing by World Marketing Congress twice in a row in November 2015 and in November 2016. Leading industry awards from Frost & Sullivan, Economic Times, Best Healthcare Brands and Brand Trust Awards 2016. He was earlier the head of business unit Metabolics and Branded Formulations Biosimilars at Biocon Limited, an innovation-driven global biotechnology company. Prior positions include Chief Marketing Officer at BPL Medical Technologies and Penlon Limited UK, Head of Marketing for GE Healthcare for Molecular Imaging and Computer Topography Business, Marketing and Medical roles with AstraZeneca and MSD, Merck & Co., New Jersey, USA. Dr. Karthik, it is a pleasure to have you with us. So the floor is all yours. Please go ahead with your keynote address.
Thank you, Juvaria. Thank you, API, for this opportunity. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for us to share what are the new developments and what is the digital transformation that's actually happening in pharmaceutical sciences or in pharmaceutical industry. I would just need a little help from you, Juvaria. I think if you can allow me to share my screen. So that'll be, yeah, perfect.
Yes, Doctor. Sure, of course.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And please let me know. So what I'm going to be doing here is actually, I thought of sharing industry insights. So instead of preparing a presentation on my own, so I thought, let me share with you some of the recent publications that have come out from research. So before I possibly go into a few slides which I have prepared for myself, what I would like to share is what does third-party validated research talk about changes in pharma industry, right? Now, who is the customer for pharma industry? So naturally, the customer for pharma industry is eventually a patient who needs to benefit from what pharmaceutical industry does as a day job. However, the conduit to reaching a patient is a physician, and therefore physician becomes a key influencer in the way how pharmaceutical industry operates. So what I'm going to show you first is what did the pandemic do to the way how pharmaceutical industry operates? Was there a change in the way how doctors was there a change in the expectation from doctors during the pandemic as to what did they expect from the pharma industry? Absolutely, I think you can actually see, and this first part of what I'm sharing with you as data point is thanks to BCG, the Boston Consulting Group. They came up with a very nice analysis of a lot of qualitative research and feedback collected from physicians across the world. It has representation from markets like United States and Western Europe. It also has representation from evolving markets like India, Southeast Asia, ASEAN countries, the Middle East, Africa, and Eastern Europe. So therefore, it really gives you a consolidated view. And as you can see, although results vary by market, most physicians overall prefer to keep or increase their share of virtual interactions. And this is across specialties. You can see across internal medicine, infectious disease, medical oncology, outpatient surgeons. You can see that the percentage of virtual interactions with pharmaceutical companies is kind of really going up significantly. And does it mean that there is going to be a decline in the number of face-to-face interactions that medical representatives or medical professionals pharmaceutical professionals used to have with doctors? I do not think so. What we really see is that there is going to be a point in time where there's going to be a good balance between virtual interactions, virtual engagement, and also physical face-to-face interactions. And we will see how has the physician's preference changed and how does the pharmaceutical industry, how is it digitally transforming itself to respond to that changing expectation from the physician. So as you can see, in-person meetings, there was a significant change, there was actually a decline first because physicians were not meeting, and then there was a significant growth, towards late 2020 and then getting into 2021 and early 2022. However, you see a significant growth in the technology-led engagements like webinars, webcasts, scheduled video chat-based discussions with physicians, and also on-demand video chat using technology platforms as well. So this clearly says that there is an increasing trend of accepting technology-driven communication from pharma to the physicians. And we also see that there is an increasing trend of actually looking into emails, text conversations, WhatsApp conversations, etc., which was not really the trend prior to the pandemic. And by the way, this is not restricted to one specialty. Across the board, we saw that, the first speaker spoke that medical oncology is going to be the fastest growing aspect of the pharma industry. So starting from oncology to diabetology to endocrinology, cardiology, you see that across the board, doctors are now wanting to settle down as a fair balance between maybe one or two physical representations or meetings with the pharmaceutical sales representative, but the rest of the interactions they would like to have primarily on virtual speaker programs, a personal visit from a medical resource, could be a medical affairs manager, a medical advisor, or even a medical science liaison. And also, most importantly, doctors are really looking forward to upskilling themselves. So the expectation is that how can pharmaceutical companies play the role of organizations that can bring them new skills, train them on new skills. And I'll talk about which are the new skills that they are really, really looking forward to. Telemedicine or teleconsultation skills is something that doctors really did not have prior to the pandemic. So therefore, training on the new telemedicine principles, there is a new approved Telemedicine Society of India guidelines, which talks about the do's and don'ts of offering consultations in a remote manner using video or telephonic consultations. So training on the SOP about the do's and don'ts of teleconsultation. These are some of the upskilling requirements that doctors have really looked into. So therefore, as already mentioned, the overall, the channel of communication would effectively settle down between one or two face-to-face calls and also a balance with what we call as virtual communication platforms. However, there is one specific expectation that the doctor said that if it is a new product launch from a pharmaceutical organization, they would want that launch to typically happen through a personal visit from a pharmaceutical representative. However, the follow-up conversations about the new launch can happen over, you can say, a virtual platform. So therefore, that's the balance that they wish to see when it comes to launch of new pharmaceutical medicines. What is also very clear from this research is that companies used to send very generic email texts or email, emails and WhatsApp textual content. What doctors are very increasingly coming up with is, hey, if you send me a generic one, it may possibly go and sit in my spam or in my junk email. So what doctors really prefer is to read personalized communication. And I think this is becoming increasingly evident now that companies are spending a lot of time and effort to have more personalized communication. And personalized communication also goes into the depths of understanding KYC, or know your customer. What are the likes and dislikes of the doctor? What are those subjects that are of relevance or of greater interest to a doctor, and only give him that part of information. So that is how I think customization is kind of really becoming key, and pharma marketeers are taking a note of this. Also, the value of the content. So if it is purely promotional about the product, I think doctors are no longer interested. So doctors are really interested in looking at what are the new clinical data points that are coming from global conferences. What are the new safety signals that are being noted about new products that are launched in the market? What are the doctors' peer group talking about in a neighboring state of the country, in different parts of the world, doctors of the same specialty? Can we create a working group of doctors of the same specialty to discuss about their experience on the efficacy and safety of a new product that a pharmaceutical company has brought in? So a peer-to-peer advisory and consultative approach is what doctors are really looking for. And these are differentiated engagement platforms that doctors are really looking for. So therefore, broadly, we would see that the expectation from the doctor is really coming to a state of a balanced approach between virtual discussions and in-person discussions between doctor and the pharmaceutical industry. And therefore, there are multiple types of tools being used. The use of telemedicine and video-enabled tools has grown significantly, as you can see. Doctors are actually wanting to get themselves trained much better on the SOP, or the standard operating procedures, about do's and don'ts of offering consultation through video conferencing, through teleconferencing, etc. So therefore, all of this is actually becoming extremely critical, and pharmaceutical industry is playing a critical role of upskilling doctors to adopt new technology. So while this first part of the presentation spoke about the changing expectation from the doctor, I'd like to quickly switch gears and talk to you a little bit about what is new in terms of pharma predictions. What are the new things that are going to happen with regards to pharma embracing technology? And this is a very interesting research that was done by Reuters. So, and it actually captures, essentially vision and thoughts from some of the global leaders in the pharmaceutical industry. So one of the key things that we just discussed, you can see the same thing is coming from Zhen Xu, the CEO of Marengo Therapeutics. What he talks about is, he talks about what are his three priorities as the changing trends in pharmaceutical industry. So one, he says there are going to be more hybrid doctor, that is healthcare provider engagement, with a greater return on the in-person face-to-face interaction and a good balance between virtual and in-person. Second, pandemic sensitive adaptive planning due to resurgence. So this is basically looking at both plan A and plan B. And this is basically around investments. Naturally, every company looks at marketing investment. So as you can see now, and Reuters has actually published another follow-up study to this, it is clearly showing that if a pharmaceutical marketer had $100 to spend, before the pandemic, about $60 to $70 in that used to actually go into physical events, physical conferences, printing promotional materials, visual aids, leaflets, etc. And now the scenario is entirely the opposite. 65 to 70% of the budget today is going in digital engagement, virtual conferences, digital promotional campaigns, digital, promotional tools, e-visual aids, e-communication through digital platforms like Marketo, Salesforce.com, Viva enabled communication through digital platforms, etc. And only about 30-35% is going into print and traditional conventional medium. So that's very important. That really clearly reflects that omni-channel is the way to go. The second important aspect is actually about patient centricity. I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about newer aspects in patient centricity, specifically digital therapeutics. That's an emerging trend in pharmaceutical industry. So pharma is really adapting digital therapeutics. The third is basically engagement of startups. So more than before, we are seeing that large pharmaceutical organizations are now looking at partnerships with health tech startups. health tech startups could actually, and I'll talk to you about in the slides that I prepared in the next couple of minutes. So there are wearable devices, wearable technologies that pharmaceutical industries are leveraging to actually offer community health screening programs, early detection of disease, and hence early initiation of pharmacotherapy. And all of this is made possible through strong partnerships between health tech startups and pharmaceutical companies. So that's the new trend that we are also seeing in the pharma industry. Next is actually patient-informed R&D. So this is basically about empowering patients, empowering doctors, VOC, or voice of customer as we call. So there are a lot of digital engagements, including apps, which have been developed, which actually helps in real-time monitoring of adverse events. I think the previous speaker was talking about timely reporting of adverse events, typically pharmacovigilance, conformance to pharmacovigilance SOP. So there are technologies that actually help in real-time reporting of new efficacy or adverse events that are seen with pharmacotherapeutics. And this data point is captured by the patient himself or herself. It is immediately updated into the central database. It actually sends an alert to the treating physician. It also helps in timely reporting of the adverse event to the pharmaceutical organization that manufactures that medicine. So therefore, technology is being leveraged really well in, both in terms of patient-informed R&D as well as in patient-informed pharmacovigilance. It also actually helps in terms of running real-world evidence programs, RWE programs, and also in terms of gathering patient-generated health data. Typically, what we earlier used to call as observational studies, phase 4 clinical trials, all of that is now completely digitized, and we are seeing an emerging this one with that. Also, the first speaker, Dr. Roshan, spoke about artificial intelligence. I think artificial intelligence, I can talk about it both from a drug development perspective and also from a marketing perspective. So one of the things we are looking at in artificial intelligence from drug development is artificial intelligence is now able to significantly reduce the time frame from actual lead to target identification, and hence fast track drug development process itself. So that is there. I was also talking to a team yesterday. There is a new emerging model called organ on chip, and you can all actually go to Google, go to the internet and read a little bit. There's some good published reports on what we call organ on chip. Organ on chip is actually a technology driven approach to actually create humanoid models of fast tracking drug development, and it actually has a potential to replace preclinical animal studies. Right. So a lot of animal rights activists that talk about why should we sacrifice animals to do animal studies and then bring investigational drugs into clinical development, which is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So there is now an opportunity to adopt what we call as organ on chip technology to actually potentially replace animal models, fast track preclinical using humanoid what we call as organ on chip models, and then fast track clinical development programs. So that's a very interesting development. And last but not least, patient-centric healthcare. And in patient-centric healthcare, a lot of patient support programs. Previous speakers spoke about oncology. They spoke about diabetes. So type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, oncology, management of cancer, all of this need to have very strong patient support programs. And I think this is where digital engagement with digital therapeutics is actually playing a very, very important role. And last but not the least, I think pricing. So digital-led pricing or data science-led pricing is actually playing a very, very important role. We are now able to actually come up with differential pricing models for different markets, also coming up with not just CAPEX but OPEX types of models as well in pharmaceutical manufacturing and also in drug development as well. So that way, basically you actually see that there is a lot of disruption, technology-led disruption that's happening in the pharmaceutical industry, which we can take cognizance of. And to come to the last part of the presentation, this is one presentation that I actually made for one of the telehealth conferences. So I'll only go through specific aspects of this. As you can see, there is actually a significant growth in the adoption of connected health. I'll only go through very specific slides here. And in connected health, wearables, smartwatch technologies that monitor vitals have been growing significantly well. And pharmaceutical industry is actually joining hands with these health tech startups to actually make sure that early diagnosis and early institution of therapy can be instituted by, as a partnership between health tech companies and pharmaceutical companies. So therefore, this is one important trend that I'd like to show you. Another important trend that I wish to show you is basically this. This is typically as we call hype cycle. In this hype cycle, it's a little crowded slide. You may not be able to read everything, but what I can clearly tell you is that 3D printing in drugs, okay, artificial intelligence in drug design, okay, 3D bioprinting, augmented reality-led medical education programs, augmented reality in surgery, right, and clinical trial management and clinical trial recruitment. All of these are actually really, really emerging as new age technology and digital enhanced, you can say, programs or campaigns that really, really help in progressing pharmaceutical into the new age. So this is an important, advancement to kind of take note of. I would also like to show you some of the technologies which pharmaceutical companies have partnered with. The key, just to show you, these partnerships we have actually seen in diagnostic cardiology, critical care and surgery, women and child health, home care equipments, imaging, as well as in lab equipments, or basically pathology, as well as molecular biology. In cardiology, these are the pharmaceutical partnerships with tech companies. There are technologies that have actually enabled large-scale community screening for patients with cardiac disease, including rhythm abnormalities, including heart failure, where there are technologies to actually immediately pinpoint falling cardiac output and trigger an alert to the hospital or the treating physician. And immediately, one of the previous speakers was talking about digoxin. So therefore, how do we manage patients with rhythm abnormalities, cardiac output abnormalities, heart failure kind of condition? I think all of that is really very helpful. There are also technologies that actually are able to enhance diagnosis of heart disease, which is what pharma companies can very strongly partner with. This is basically an enhancement to what we today call coronary CT angiogram. This was developed by a team of research scientists at the National University of Singapore under the AI platform called Apollo. It significantly increases faster diagnosis of blockages in the coronary blood vessels. It is also able to kind of quantify atherosclerosis. It is able to do calcium scoring. It's able to measure epicardial fat. And it's also able to do plaque quantification. I think this is a great technology, very much in line with what pharmaceutical organizations marketing drugs like clopidogrel, aspirin, and even now ticagrelor, or multiple other new pharmacotherapeutics in the management of acute coronary syndrome. So there are huge partnership opportunities that are available there. There are also imaging opportunities, typically to look at breast examination for breast cancer, especially elastography, to look for liver cancer, hepatology, and nephrology applications through imaging. All of this is actually possible. There are great opportunities in blood sugar and blood pressure management, activity trackers, which are very much known to all of you, and also women's health. There are great technology applications that are available. And this is another interesting, technology, which actually helps in management of the mood. So basically in neurosciences, patients that have that need psychosocial assistance, patients that suffer from depression, manic depressive psychosis, etc. So there are fantastic technologies to complement pharmacotherapeutics, which can actually help monitor prognosis in such patients. And that's a great technology, this one partnership that happens between pharma and medtech. Also, you have Bluetooth-enabled insulin pens, drug delivery devices, Bluetooth-enabled glucometers that can actually give a very nice trend on how the diabetes control has been. There are also now connected devices available in the form of continuous glucose monitoring devices, CGM devices, as well as insulin infusion pumps as well. So that way you see that there is a lot of opportunity that's available of partnering between technology and pharma. The last part of the presentation that I wish to focus on is what we call as digital therapeutics. Digital therapeutics is treated similar to pharmacotherapeutics. Now, what is digital therapeutics? in very, very simple words, while it actually does a lot more in terms of the value, that clinical value it brings in very simple words, anything that basically covers diet, lifestyle, nutrition, psychosocial and psychological well-being of patients, especially patients with non-communicable diseases like cancer, hemato-oncology, rare diseases, as well as metabolic diseases. This digital therapeutic is prescribed by a doctor in addition to a medicine, like a pharmacotherapeutic. And there are lots of work that is happening in digital therapeutics, especially in the areas of mental health, diabetes, circulatory or cardiovascular disorders, digestive, respiratory system, musculoskeletal system, and nervous system disorders. These are prescribed as digital healthcare programs. Consider them as non-communicable diseases or disease management programs that are prescribed by the doctors in addition to the pharmacotherapy. And there's a lot of work. All these are globally, critically acclaimed technology startup companies who are working on digital therapeutic solutions in various fields. And that's a very good complement with what the pharma industry has been doing. Yeah. And this is one recent publication. Some of you from Mumbai may be knowing a senior endocrinologist, Dr. Shashank Joshi, where he has actually studied digital therapeutic interventions closely in the management of type 2 diabetes. And just about 2 weeks ago, he was presenting a paper at the American Association of Clinical Endocrinology in San Diego, where he could clearly show that how digital therapeutic or technology platform, which has been developed by a team of scientists in IIT Madras, have actually helped patients achieve a much better remission in type 2 diabetes. So clinicians are now appreciating the role of digital therapeutics prescribed in combination with pharmacotherapeutics. And I think that's changing the way how pharmaceutical medicine is being practiced. And last but not the least, digital biomarkers. I think it's a lot of work that's happening in terms of using digital biomarkers to look at efficacy, safety, and predict risk parameters as well, both in actual clinical practice as well as in clinical drug development. So therefore, digital biomarkers is another new, you can say, area to kind of watch out for. So these were some of the use cases that I had to kind of share with the participants on this call. So once again, I thank APR for this opportunity, and I'm happy to take any questions from the audience. So thank you again.
All right. If there are any questions, kindly please present it to the presenter, or you could even type it in the chat box and we will have the questions addressed. So we will take a minute to address any questions if there are. So we have a question on the chat box, the role of 3D printing in pharmaceuticals.
Yes. There are specific roles of 3D printing in pharmaceuticals. So naturally, it is a huge industry of manufacturing tablets, capsules, core tablets, etc. Plus, in addition to that, there is a lot of work that's actually going on in terms of, standardizing API quantity in drugs so that the bioequivalence and bioavailability is maintained. So yes, there are multiple applications of 3D printing, both in drug delivery as well as in basically drug manufacturing per se. So yes, that's a very relevant question.
So we have another question. It says, the role of digital markers, especially in neurosciences.
Absolutely. So I also saw that one of the previous speakers spoke about personalized medicine. I think digital biomarkers are really redefining the way how personalized medicine could be practiced. So digital biomarkers would essentially look at both gene mutations, and it would also look for specific biomarkers for different types of neurological conditions. It could be multiple sclerosis, it could be Alzheimer's, it could be spinal muscular atrophy, and or any other neurodegenerative disorder, which is either age-related or gene mutation-related. And what it basically entails is that with that technique, it is able to basically ensure that there is the physician has a choice of choosing the most relevant targeted therapy for that patient, right? And what we have also seen in terms of personalized approach to medicine is that between the two genders, male and female, there is a different way that the body basically metabolizes the drug. The side effect profile is different between genders and between different human races as well. So that way, yes, in neurosciences, there are multiple applications available, including, biomarkers that indicate, which neurotransmitter may be is either upregulated or downregulated in different types of neurological disorders or conditions. So that way, yes, there is a huge role of digital biomarkers in neurosciences, not only neurosciences, but beyond neurosciences in a lot of other NCD or non-communicable diseases.
So we have another question. It talks about how the techniques applicable for preventable disease like Parkinson's and diabetes.
Okay, so in terms of preventable diseases like Parkinson or diabetes, so naturally, what what the pharmaceutical industry is currently pursuing is more on the therapeutic side, which means for a patient who is already diagnosed, how can we better manage the condition through personalized medicine or personalized healthcare? That's what the industry is looking at. But in terms of actual preventions, and actually that prevention goes back into a lot of wellness related digital technologies that are available. So naturally, we do know that there are specific predispositions for Parkinson's. There are specific modifiable risk factors for type 2 diabetes as well. So therefore, those are basically not covered under, you can say, digital intervention in pharmaceuticals, but it would rather be covered under healthcare and wellness. So that's how it is. Yes, that's a very different set of health tech organizations that are working on, So of course, you can start with the simplest of them, like an India-born company called Goki, and also global companies that are critically acclaimed for this, like Strava or even Fitbit for that matter. And there are quite a few companies who now have what you say non-invasive way of actually measuring capillary blood glucose. So therefore, people use these as wellness wearables to actually check for blood sugar management or blood sugar levels, even if they are not diagnosed to have type 2 diabetes. Yeah. So therefore, typically you see that does not fall under the realm of pharmacotherapeutics. It would fall under the realm of wellness, wellness management per se.
All right. So are there any more questions that you would like the doctor to address? Okay, I believe that there are no more questions. And on that note, so we will be winding up the session that has happened. So thank you so much, Dr. Karthik, for your informative session that you've given us. You've really enlightened us, and with your very breezy presentation that you've done, I think the questions also have been answered very clearly, and I think a lot of people have received a lot of clarity as well. So thank you for your time, Doctor. All right. So let me proceed in giving the vote of thanks for the session. With that, we will be concluding the session. So on behalf of the Association of Pharmaceutical Research, I would like to express my gratitude to all the three speakers for their presence and contribution in making this webinar an informative and interesting session. And thank you for spending your time with us. Thank you to all the listeners for listening in very patiently and with intent. So the APR extends our sincere gratitude to the speakers as well as to the participants and listeners for taking time out from their busy schedule to participate in the event. Now, my colleague Shravani has pasted a link to download your certificates for attending this webinar on the chat box. So when you open the link, you need to sign into your APR account. If you are a new member, you need to sign up. You need to create an alphanumeric password, and you will be getting the OTP to your email. Using that, kindly sign into your account. After you log in, on the left side of the menu, click on certificates and rewards, and then you could download your certificates. So the certificates will take about 24 hours or so to be uploaded into it. In the meantime, you could always sign up for it and be ready to download your certificates. So that is the information that we would like to give to all the listeners who have participated today. So once again, thank you so much. So stay safe, everyone, and take care. And until we meet again, so this is your host, Juvelia, signing off. I suggest the listeners to take a note of what is in the chat box so that it will be useful in downloading the certificates.
Hello, can you please send the link again?
Yes, we are sending it. So we have again pasted a link in the chat box, and we would be ending the meeting in about 2 minutes time. So if you are an APR account holder, then you would be having your account details and your account password. If not, you are a new member, then you need to sign up into the website.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Madam, if when we sign up, I am not a member of this APR. So when we sign up and put the mobile number for password, they say invalid credentials. So then how can we?
Sir, you are a new member, so you need to sign up with the account, sir.
Okay. When we sign up with the account, we have to enter our email, and then they ask for password. We have to enter our mobile number. And then
Sir, that is sign in option. You need to sign up. Sign in is different and sign up is different. So kindly click on sign up, give your entire details, and then you become a member and then you can sign in.
Okay.
All right, so we will be ending the meeting right now.
Hello,
Yes.
madam. Actually, this certificate not downloaded, madam.
Sir, you need to sign up and then you can get into this one.
Sign up already closed, madam. Sign in already open, but phone number not taken, madam. The invalid capture they are given message, madam.
Sir,
Like
you
that.
need to sign up again then.
Okay, madam.